The night's long shadows have dragged you through time and across worlds to kneel here before my worm-eaten throne. I offer you now this one chance to walk away with your lives and your souls intact. Please, tell me our story. It doesn't take much bravery to tell a story. I suppose maybe for some stories, for some people it does. Maybe when your story is about oppression that you've experienced in your life, or when your story can make you the target of hate or violence. I guess what I'm saying is that I don't believe that it takes a hero to sit in a chair surrounded by your friends and imagine dragons soaring through the starlight of a dark night. I'm not a particularly brave man, but I knew a brave man. He was a young man, a friend who'd suffered more than most do in a lifetime, but he never complained. When his sickness became an inconvenience to the people he loved, he found himself left behind too often, but he never complained. When his legs were taken from him, his ability to walk, to create, to do the things that he loved to do the most, he never complained. He never gave up or stopped hoping that tomorrow would be a better day for him. He never lost his joy. He never lost his spirit. He never stopped being kind to everyone that he met. Like I said, I don't believe that it takes a brave man to fight imaginary dragons. It takes a brave man to fight a real dragon, the type of dragon that he knows he'll never defeat, the type of dragon that he knows will one day be the end of him. At best, he knows that he can hold the dragon at bay for just a little longer, and still he fights and he fights and he hopes. And I think that doing that takes real bravery. Like I said, I'm not a particularly brave man, but I knew a brave man. This story tonight is in honor of my dear friend, Andy Baker. You were an incorruptible hero. You were so brave. And I'll miss you. Thunk, 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 thunk. The war-hungry sounds of a dark army beating its weapon against their armor, against their shields, resounds throughout the night and across the proud city of Palanthus. It is the age of despair, a few short years after the age and the war of the Lance. And there's still so much evil in the world. Kelvin Stonewarden, you are fleeing from a dark shadow cast across the city of Palanthus. Above you, you see a crumbling dark stone castle resting on a mammoth rock. It's flying towards the center of the city. Circling and swooping around the flying citadel is a flock of horrible dragons, their breath living inferno and their eyes shining with an evil light. Through Palanthus's breached and broken gates, a swarm of Minotaur slave warriors, Draconians, and worse monstrosities yet have invaded and are mercilessly cutting down civilians in the street. You are being followed by a flock of your own. 16 orphans, dwarvish orphans. You've been leading them through back alleyways and away from the fighting, towards the docks of the city and hopefully a ship so that they, you, or all of you may escape. Carnage is all around you, and the orphans are terrified. How is Kelvin managing in this moment, and what is he doing to try to protect the children?
Managing poor. Doing. Palanthus has been a city of respite for Kelvin for almost every day since the war ended. He knows these streets. He knows every little nook and cranny. Any good scoundrel should. But unfortunately, armies have a way of finding crannies. And especially when you're trying to deal with a bunch of terrified children. But an army that is as proud and cocky as anyone that would use one of those terrible, terrible powers is going to try and put on a good show.
And you are moving quickly as you can. You have the benefit of having heard the shattering of the city's wall, the shattering of its gate. And as you lead this band of orphans through the city streets, through the back alleyways, there are people dying behind you, and those people are creating something of a buffer. It gives you enough time for now. You reach the docks, only to find that most of the ships are already leaving port and several of them are burning. Men, women, and children are throwing themselves off of the docks, off of the ships, into the cold water, less afraid of drowning than they are of what's coming behind you. As you arrive, the children stop in their tracks. They stop following you. They're afraid. And you find yourself caught between the war behind you and the water.
Eyes darting about, looking for, because it's the docks, one boathouse. You have to know that there's a young noble that has something nice hidden away and something that looks shabby. And so, we just try and usher the kids as quickly along. um, all the whilst running, realizing just how bad things are, and throwing up quickly to just sort of awe and entertain them a quick mirror image, just so all of them see that, hey, there's more here to help you than meets the eye. And just having them rush towards any boathouse one can find.
So summoning your mirror images, more comforting versions of yourself so that the kids don't feel so alone. Make me a persuasion check. I'll give you advantage on it. Advantage does help. It takes a little bit of corralling and effort, a wasted minute, but you are able to get the kids moving forward and the children. You are able to find a boathouse towards the end of the dock. Other people are pushing past you in the opposite direction. As I said, they're leaping from the docks into the water, swimming, hoping that they can catch one of the boats already out to sea. As you get closer to the boathouse, you can hear from one of the alleyways behind you an inhuman shriek pierce the air, silencing the screams of scared and dying people behind you. You've lived long enough, and you know what this sound is by its foul legend, a terror of Lord Soth, one of his 13 banshees. Then you hear an explosion, the dock shake at your feet, and you can see the flickering light of a blazing fire from the periphery of your vision.
All right, kids, get them all in front of me and just darting towards the boathouse. If I see the door, I'm going to just completely ignore everything that's off to the side and quickly just firebolt the door. Just trying to blow that thing open so they can just get in.
Roll me one more persuasion check, and with your mirror image, I'll keep this at advantage. They freeze, and you're working, you're trying to help them find the courage to keep going on, even though there's chaos all around them. And it's while you're working with them that you happen to look over your shoulder, and you can see behind you a single man stepping out of the flames, moving straight for you and the group of orphans who scatter to hide behind you. He's a large man wearing heavy armor. And as he steps closer to you and away from the raging fire, you can make out more than just his silhouette. His pale face is covered by a dark mustache and flowing raven hair. The armor itself has been emblazoned by the symbol of a golden hammer, and though the plate mail must have been once white, it's long since been stained red with the blood of this warrior's enemies. Through his blood-spattered features, you can see a mad, hungry look in his eyes as he stomps towards you, dragging behind him an emerald-hilted warhammer that scrapes over top the splintered wood of the dock.
And just yell out to the kids at this point, because seeing that, there's a fight. And quickly, run to the house or scatter. Just hide.
And you do not have to make a persuasion check this time. This figure, bathed in blood, is terrifying, and the children run to the door of the boathouse. The first one there, the oldest, maybe a boy of 16, is working the handle of the door, trying to get it open. Using his force, it's stuck. He's working at it, but there's not time for you to follow the children and avoid this man.
Changing entire mannerisms, all of the me's turning to him. Greetings and salutations. You seem to be a man of discerning taste. How may I help you?
He doesn't open his mouth to answer you. Instead, he opens his mind, and you can feel his mind inside your mind, digging around like tendrils and fingers. It feels like somebody has reached inside your skull and is banging their fist against the inside of your brain. Uh, it's uncomfortable, painful to say the least. And at this point, I'm going to need you to roll me initiative.
Okay, there's some hope.
And I'll say this, we have a few inspirations that have come in. Kelvin, you have 4 right now. And with a 16, you're able to fend off this immediate invasion. You're not a weak-willed individual. You're not without your own powers, and you will go first.
Greetings, friend. So, I'm in a bit of a rush. I doubt I can persuade you to fuck off. But if a fight you want, let's do this thing right. Mage armor, real quick. And then, I'm bolting. I'm going to make this guy jog. So, bonus action, dash, and move action, full away in the direction of the water.
Are you running towards the water or towards the boat and the children?
No, I need to get this monster away from him. So it's just straight towards the water.
You run down one of the docks towards the end of the dock. He glances between you and the children, and he waits. He stops. He waits until you're 50 feet away, and then he turns and continues to walk towards the children. You can hear the scraping of the warhammer against the wood behind you. And he spends his turn not running, not hurried, walking. The boy in the front can't get that door open. And behind him, he feels the bodies of the younger children pushing up against him, panicking, scared. It's making it harder on him. It's your turn again.
No. Your dance card's full. Firebolt.
All right. Take your attack.
With advantage. Yes.
A 25 will hit. So your bolt of fire leaps, arcing from your hand through the cold night air, comes down and it strikes the knight in the shoulder. And at that moment, when he is struck, that's when he stops marching towards the children. And you watch as his body dissolves into a thin line of mist. And that mist swirls up into the air, and you see it drifting, not over the water. It goes back around the side of the dock and then turns around the corner. And now that tendril of mist is coming towards you. It doesn't reach you this turn, but it's very close. It's your turn again.
Bolting back to the edge of the dock, now seeing it coming my way. Can I get a religion check to identify this guy?
Absolutely.
All right.
You are a learned man, and you have lived a long, long time. Kelvin Stonewarden, you know that this individual is wearing the armor of a Knight of the Divine Hammer, an order of knights that was short-lived and has been extinct for almost 400 years, since just at the end of the previous age. It was the cataclysm that destroyed this order, for they served the king priest Beldinus. And this particular figure, as he recoalesces in front of you, you can see his face, even through the blood that stains it. You recognize him as a historical figure, one of the great generals at the end of the Age of Might, the one responsible for the destruction of many of the wizards of high sorcery and bringing low their towers. This is Sir Leon Barnabas. You're sure of it.
Sir Leon, color me surprised. I thought I buried you with my past. But it's a horror story this evening, and I'm the unlikely hero. All right, let's go, old man.
And do you take any actions?
Yeah. I'm gonna backflip off the dock.
All right. Let's see. So you're backwards cannonballing off the dock into the water.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to do?
Going to swim under the dock.
You do just that. It's quiet. You can't hear steps above you. You don't see the shadow of Sir Leon. It's just you below the dock, alone. It's your turn again.
Knowing how docks are actually built, I'm going to swim as quickly as I can towards where it originates on the edge of the lake. If there's any bit of land underneath it, I'm going to put my back to the corner, so this guy is going to have to squeeze.
You do find a small patch of land there. You're wedged between dock and this little dry patch, the water lapping up against you. And I need you to make me an intelligence saving throw.
All right. Let's use an advantage. I don't feel like having anyone in my head but myself.
You feel again the tendrils of another outside presence trying to worm their way inside your mind, and you are prepared. You're able to fight it off. And a moment afterwards, that's when you see the gauntleted hand of this knight reach down around the side of the dock and start grabbing for your shirt to try to grapple you. You have anything prepared for when you see him?
Let's make him bleed a little more. Nope. Just dragged along the gauntlet.
And scrapes along his gauntlet, and he reaches you with his fingers. Make me an athletics check. You feel him grab you by your cloak. He pulls you up into the air, and he holds you above him like you're nothing, like you're a feather. And you're staring down into his face, and you're looking into his eyes. And you see there the kind of madness and the kind of hunger that you've not seen many times in your life, but you remember seeing this once before in Throttle, in the battle against the ogre. When you faced him, you saw a hunger and a violence that very few individuals are capable of. You survived that day, but now you're looking down into the face of Sir Leon Barnabas, and you see the ogre in his eyes. It's your turn.
All right, son of a jackal. Was never really that much of a swordsman. Add firebolt point blank, using advantage.
That will be a hit. You strike him again, burns his face, but you see his flesh already beginning to mend itself, almost like it's stretching to stitch over the wound that you've just created.
Oh, that's just bad form.
You watch him regenerate in front of you, and he gives something akin to a smile. You see the long fangs protrude, one out of his left incisor, one out of his right incisor, and then the dock shakes again. Go ahead and make me an athletics check. The both of you topple to the side into the water. He doesn't lose his grip on you the entire time, and you feel yourself falling into, at first, what you think is an ocean. Then you realize it's something else. It's something thinner than water, something blacker than water. And it's swirling around you, reaching up over you, pulling you down, and pulling Sir Leon Barnabas down too. Some sort of shadowy material.
Just sort of sigh, go with it, and go. Just think aloud. I bought them time. All right, Leon, let's continue dancing.
You try to do anything on your turn?
Yeah, let's try and struggle free as best we can.
All right, give me another athletics check.
Nope, this guy's grip is ironclad.
You can feel his fingers pressing into your skin, into your bone, and you begin to choke on this sea of shadows. You can feel his gauntleted, pointed power pressing into your cheek, your jaw, your neck, your shoulder. It's tearing at you, and for a moment, as you feel him trying to drown you in this darkness, you glance up and you look past him, and there across the sea, you spy a spiraling tower of cracked and crumbling black stone. The tower is flanked by two smaller black minarets on either side, one minaret half collapsed and the other missing its roof. And from the top of that central tower, you see a white beacon shining from an open window. It looks very much like the Tower of High Sorcery in Palanthas, the Doomspire. But now somehow it seems to have moved, and you're moving too. The shadows are taking you downward, and you're falling through them. The dark tendrils are pulling Sir Leon with you. He won't release his grip on you, and you can feel the shadow invade your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears. It's pulling at your skin as though to open you up like a fleshy flower. And then that darkness, after what seems like minutes, but maybe it was only seconds, spits you out again. When it does, you've lost Sir Leon, or he's lost you. You find yourself on your stomach under the daylight of the sun, staring down at a grassy wilderness all around you. You're atop a small hill, and there below you, as your eyes come into focus, you see a giant the size of the very hill that you are resting on, 100 feet tall or maybe more. This giant is wielding a 3-story tall ivory column as a club.
Gods, I don't know which is worse, the giant or the vampire. But I have a feeling I'm supposed to bear witness to something. So, let's go say hi. And get up off my stomach and try and get a quick vantage point from the top of this hill to see what this mountain of a being is engaged with.
Give me a perception check.
Nope. Just giant. Giant for days.
He does seem to be stepping forward, but you can't really see around him the way that you're positioned. His back is to you. And so you'll have to get closer, Kelvin.
Okay. It's jogging day. Okay. And just bonus action, move, hustling along. My little friends are still with me. And I've got the confidence of mage armor. That's good. Got confidence. Got my dagger out. It's all good. It's all good. And just heading along. I'm not going to get this thing's attention just yet.
All right. Go ahead and roll me a stealth check. As you're chugging along down the hill towards the giant, you do get close enough and it doesn't turn towards you. You watch as it pulls this ivory column out of a ruin. And as it does, the ruin collapses in on itself into a pile of dust. And it turns and begins to look away. And as it's turning with this ivory column now in hand, it's then that you can see what you imagine to be the giant's defiant prey, a barbaric, fire and sun-haired minotaur, and a friend from your past, Sir Reardon, Knight of the Crown, and like you, one of the heroes of the Battle of Throttle.
You always were a trouble magnet. Oh. All right. I get it now. Once more into the fray.
As you charge and call out, you're pretty sure that Sir Reardon can't hear you, not yet. There's too much noise from the collapsing ruin. But we're going to cut away from you here, and we're going to move to Honoria. Honoria, we find you flying up above the tree line of Stormshire Forest, having fled away from this giant as Sir Reardon and Rookone turned to face it. And now you are above just the edge of the border of the forest, this dense, not large, but dense forest. And you look back and you can see that it has torn the ivory column from the ruin and is turning towards Sir Reardon and Rookone.
Taking a deep breath to steady myself in the air for just a moment, Honoria very carefully weighs her options, and there is a strong sense that tugs at her very being that says to flee and to fly with all haste. But there's something deeper inside of her, and she feels the crackle on the Dremel on the back of her neck, and she touches it, almost zapping her, and she understands. And she looks over to this great beast ripping the column from the ground and down to her two friends, and just gives an inward nod, taking a deep breath, and she flies towards the creature. And she begins casting immediately. Korak Linkaran, and she pulls out of almost her inner being 2 separate spears, as I am going to burn through 3 inspiration so that I can cast Chromatic Orb back to back, pulling 2 pieces of acid. I look at this creature. I hurl one after the other, slamming into the side of its face, trying to hit one in succession after the other, almost so that my acid would be a punch to this great creature to stop it from pulling down its mighty columns to my friend and look unto me.
Excellent. So this is something new for this season. You can spend 3 inspiration to gain a second action on your turn, including casting another level spell. So you're casting 2 leveled spells by spending 3 inspiration. I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to let you cast the first one, and then we'll have a beat and we'll do the second one. With the spell, let me ask you, where are you throwing this? How are you trying to strike this giant?
As I am still flying, I would have moved up to try and be head level with it, and something feels a little different about my range. I feel a little bit more confident, perhaps a little bit more rage, and I pull back, and I would be trying to strike near the temple, or perhaps where its jaw is.
Okay, go ahead and make your first attack there.
That's a 24 on the first one.
Make me an Arcana check.
That's a nat 1.
You launch this orb of acid through the air, and it arcs and strikes the creature right in its jaw. You can see from this distance, you have to squint to kind of see it, but it does burn through part of its rocky lip. It doesn't seem to slow him down. Not sure if you got its attention or not.
Am I able to strike?
Go ahead and roll me damage, yeah.
25 damage.
All right, and you have your second action now.
Plus 16.
16 will strike it again. Roll me an Arcana check, and then roll your damage.
23. 22.
You strike it with another blow, and this time, for a moment, it does get its attention. It doesn't seem to slow it down, but your acid is eating through the rock. And with a 23, I'll give you 2 feelings, 2 arcane feelings. One, that this creature has some sort of powerful protection, that your spells aren't as effective as they should be, at least not in the way that you're using them currently. And 2, you feel below you a dark presence, some sort of strange, profane magic. It's a curiosity. You've never felt this kind of magic before, and you get a glimpse as you look down through the boughs of the tree, and you see the warrior priestess Sabria, blood in her eyes, wandering in the opposite direction through the woods.
That token that it wears, perhaps.
Do you stay there above the tree?
Yes, I'm going to stay where I am for now. I feel that I'm well without its swinging range, and I can keep an eye on Sabria.
All right. Go ahead and roll me initiative. And everyone else, welcome. You can all go ahead and roll me initiative as well.
Let's do this.
All right. Excellent. I love that. And all right. Now we cut back to Sir Reardon and Rook Own. The giant before you, just as a sort of a reminder as to what you're looking at, has no feet, but rather legs that seem to be cut from the mountain itself. And those legs give way to a great torso of gray, sagging flesh covered by a crude vest crafted from scaly hide. It looks like it could be dragon hide, but it would have to be the hide of many dead, slain dragons. At its full height, 100 feet tall, maybe more, its head is so heavy that it droops down a little, giving it a slight hunch. But its face is the face of a man, an old man, a sad man. until the dust settles and the giant steps away from the hill that birthed it. You see the two orbs of acid fly through the air and strike this giant, one in the face. And when it does, you see its expression change. It's holding that ivory column in one hand, and its sadness hardens. It chomps its stony teeth so powerfully together, gritting, that you can hear the sound even through the fall of the ruin. It begins to lumber towards you with gargantuan strides, and each time it strikes the ground shakes all about you. It's swinging the ivory club back and forth as it approaches you. But we will start at the top of initiative with Honoria and then Sir Reardon. Before we start initiative, is there anything anyone would like to do? A sort of free act.
Go ahead, bud.
Rugon looks over at Riordan. Well, we know it can sew.
Riordan is not here for laughing as he looks over and just time the swings. That's it. That's all he's got.
Excellent. And we'll say too at this point, Pope, that Kelvin is behind on the other side of this giant, about 30 feet away. About 30 feet in the other direction is Sir Reardon and Rook'o.
Right? Real quick, not even talking to them. Again, being old, you pick up a few things. Yelling out in giant. Oi! Goat fucker! Down here! You're an awful tailor, and you smell something disgusting.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Do we hear this? Is this coming from...
I would say at this point, yeah, he's close enough now that you could hear it. So you will spot Kelvin the Stone Warden, who, once again, give us a brief description of Kelvin as well.
Black cloak, red robes. Short, all right, kept beard, starting to show a little gray finally. Very bright, sharp, intense eyes. But aside from that, extremely plain features. Almost as though they've been cultivated to be that way. Little tall for a dwarf, about, 4'11". And brandishing a dagger and just staring up and yelling profanities at this giant, using advantage on the persuasion check.
All right. The giant stops in its tracks and it slowly turns over its shoulder with the ivory column in hand, and it looks down to you now, Kelvin, and it opens its stony mouth and a bellow comes out. It's almost nonsensical, but maybe it's words. It's definitely not giant. He bellows, "Rog Brogar."
Come again?
And at that point, we're up to the top of initiative. And with that...
Well, there's one thing that I would like to do as a reaction. He won't yell out to Kelvin, but as soon as he sees Kelvin, Reardon will grip Absolution with more confidence in his hands as he recognizes his old friend. And as he pulls it up, it is beneath him to say it. So when he looks at the giant, he simply thinks, "You're fucked."
Excellent. As the giant turns back towards Kelvin Stonewarden, now changing the target that he intends to hit, we go back up to the top of initiative and we will start this combat properly. With Honoria there at the edge of the tree line, still flying overhead.
Are there any arcane runes on that skull, the bones, the materials in his pocket? Or can I take a guess at figuring that this magical protection, is that something that is innate, that is making the giant move in and of itself?
So I'll let you use bonus action to do one of two things. You can investigate it with your eyes, or you can investigate it with your spirit, with your magic.
I'm gonna go with my magic.
All right, make me an Arcana check.
It's a 23.
You get the sense that the protection, the animation magic that created this construct like you've never seen. This isn't a giant. This is a golem. And you believe that, like many golems, it must have a weakness, that whatever power it holds, it must have a vulnerability.
All right, let's start attacking everything. We got the head. I'm going for that skull. It's the only thing I can think of. I prepare myself, trying to zip one side 60 feet and dropping down, kind of spiraling as I go. I don't want it to have the opportunity to stop me. Skull is most likely to be able to be damaged by fire, and I once again reach to the back of my head, pulling that incessant energy that I can feel again. Korak Lingahan. And this, I'm gonna whip another 2 chromatic orbs at this skull.
Excellent. And you're spending another 3 inspiration to do so?
Yes.
All right, take those attacks.
Does a 14 hit the skull?
The first one lobs up, and as it's coming down, the golem is already beginning to sweep low, preparing to attack, and his head ducks just beneath the chromatic orb.
Launch again. Ugh.
This time you strike the column itself as he's pulling the weapon back. It burns through part of the column and part of it collapses. Not much. It's still a handy weapon, but it does not strike the creature.
There is a weakness! I cry down to my knights. Somewhere hidden. And that will be my action.
And how close are you now? Are you still at the edge of the tree line? Are you 120 feet away, or have you gotten a little closer?
I would have been a little bit closer. I probably would have been within regular range of chromatic orbs, so being 90 feet. But I would have wanted to get close enough to be able to yell to my companions after making this discovery, and also close enough to try and look for and feel the spirit of this creature.
All right. So maybe like 60 feet away then.
Yeah.
But up in the air.
Yep.
All right. At the end of your turn, we move to Sir Reardon.
And we heard the cry out that there's a weakness to it, that there's...
Absolutely.
Okay, so what he will do is, as soon as this shout goes out, he'll spare a moment to look over at Ragon and go, chances are it's not its feet! And he's going to charge the creature. And because he has a much smarter companion, he is going to attempt to climb up this leg, because this is not Greg nor Riordan's plan, but a very wise tactician who she'll be going in a moment. What do you need from me? As he's going to run up and try to dodge and start climbing up.
So this creature's legs they don't end in feet. As I mentioned, they end, if you've seen the image, it's like a spiraling climbing cliff that moves around and around with a solid base. So you can climb up this creature's legs. I will need your choice of athletics check or acrobatics check.
Ooh, this is much better if I do it one way than the other. Yes, it'll be athletics. 18.
You are able to pull yourself up and get purchase, your fingers digging into one of the inherent natural ledges of this creature's leg, and you begin to climb. You are only able to start climbing this turn. In each subsequent turn, you will be able to continue climbing if you're able to stay on the creature. You still have your regular action if you wish.
Okay, that was just like what, movement or like?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay, so with his action, what he is going to do is we're going to try to conserve as much as he can. He is going to send down a let me see, a commander strike. And I can, as a reaction, I can give advantage to an action, and I'm going to give it to Rokon for his climb. Even though I'm sure he'll get all kinds of different stuff. It's all I can think of to do right now as he's climbing, just focusing full on climbing. I can't attack this thing, not from this position. So he's going to climb, and as he's climbing and the bits of rock are pouring down into his face and mail, he's just going to grit his teeth, know that Kelvin, Rokon, Honoria, and his friends are with him, and through the teeth that are both gritted and smiling, he is going to say, "For tomorrow."
So as you see him start to climb up, Rokon, you hear his gritted "for tomorrow," and it's at this point that finally the stone golem, the massive giant, the size of a mountain, springs to action using a legendary action at the end of your turn. He attacks Kelvin with the ivory column. And Kelvin, I need you to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Okay. Burning through these advantages, but that's what they're there for.
Using another advantage?
Oh, yeah.
You have one left.
Good use. Not crit use, good use.
That's very good use. You are just able to step back, and the edge of the column smashes down to the ground in front of you. It misses you by inches. You do not take any damage. That's its legendary action. At the top of its turn, it brings up the base of its ivory column, grabs it with both hands, and it strikes downward, not at you, but at the ground itself. And with the force of the blow, everyone around it, Kelvin, Rokon, and Sir Reardon, I need you to all make me Constitution saving throws. Sir Reardon, you have advantage on yours because you are not on the ground, you are on the giant. Honoria, because you're in the air, you do not have to make this.
20.
Mm-hmm. Rokon got a 15.
Correct.
Rokon and Kelvin, you take 35 thunder damage and become stunned until the end of your next turn. Sir Reardon, you take 17 thunder damage and are not stunned. As he strikes the ground with the base of his column, he doesn't bring the column back up immediately. It becomes stuck for a moment in the ground, and he's pulling at it, wedging at it, but it takes him a moment, and his turn ends with the column still there on the ground. Unfortunately, Rokon, you are stunned on your turn, and Kelvin, you are stunned on your turn. Is there anything you would like to do as a free action?
That's the free action.
He kind of takes the force wave, goes down to, puts his hand on the ground to brace himself, and just tries to get the ringing out of his head.
Honoria, it's your turn.
You'd see Reardon wide-eyed as he's climbing up. Not fear, just wow.
Oh, man. I am going to go into casting a single time. This time, a little bit slower. Elang. And I will give the power of flight to Raccoon and myself with my 4th level spell slot. Fly, Raccoon!
Raccoon, you're stunned, but you do feel yourself lift up off the ground. He uses his movement to fly now on his turn, correct?
Yeah, he can move 60 feet, and it'll stop him from being stunned again, hopefully.
Excellent. And after you cast this spell, what does Honoria do? You're still flying 60 feet away from this creature at the moment.
I am going to... Fuck it, it's got the dwarf's attention. I am flying up to that skull, and with my bonus action, I'm going to take my dagger, and I'm going to stab into the skull.
As you fly up, roll me a perception check.
That's a nat 1.
Go ahead and make your attack roll.
That's a 16.
16's a hit.
For a total of 5 piercing damage. Oh no, I don't get my dex bonus on my bonus attack because I'm not proficient.
So
Chat
3.
help. 3.
So your blade does crack one of its teeth as you strike it in the maw. At the end of your turn, it uses a legendary action, and it takes its swat attack at you. It's going to be a 25 to hit.
That's going to hit.
13 bludgeon damage. And I need you to make me a strength saving throw.
9.
You are knocked back through the air as it swings its backhand at you, striking you with its stony form. 20 feet and knocked prone. You fall 80 feet through the air.
But I am holding my concentration on that goddamn fucking fly.
Wow.
Yeah, you are.
I feel my aberration spell crack and shatter from my mage armor and the protective shield that is around me, but still the force knocks me back. I can almost feel myself skimming off the top of the trees. But I hold.
You do take falling damage, even though you hold onto your fly, and it's 27 falling damage.
We're getting into the hit points now.
That's the end of your turn. Sir Reardon, it's your turn. You are on this creature's leg.
Climbing. I'm going to use advantage. I'm going to climb.
So I don't need you to make me a climbing check. Just you move your climbing speed up this creature while you're on it. So what is that, 15 feet for you?
Yes.
So you're able to get 20 feet up this creature now. You're still on its legs. You're getting to the part where what is most like a hill, easiest to climb, you're getting towards the top of that now as you're getting up what would be its thigh, closer and closer to that dragon scale wrapping that it keeps around the torso of its body. And as you get higher, you're going to have to start climbing on that actual dragon scale to continue upward. Do you do anything else with your turn?
Yes, I'm going to dash and climb further. So can I get up to the dragon scale?
Absolutely. You can climb 15 more feet. And as you do, you're pulling up on the dragon scale itself.
Okay. All I was told from Honoria before she was swatted out of the air was it has to have a weakness. And so with that weakness, as he's looking around, is there anything that looks like a soft spot? I mean, this is a mountain, for Christ's sakes. Is there anything that looks weak on this thing? Okay.
Absolutely. And I'll say now, you're about halfway up this creature at this point using your dash action. And as you look up to the rest of it, above this dragon scale wrapping is something that looks like softer flesh. It's still made of stone, maybe, or something like stone, but it looks more humanoid. And as you look up to the top of this creature, the top of its skull is green. What would be hair is more like trees. And it's then that you glance downward. And as you do, you see for a moment something reflect the sunlight on the back of its neck. You're not sure what it is, but it catches it like a gem would catch the light.
How far away is this?
This is on its neck, so about another 35 feet above you.
Okay, buckle up, Don, because I would like to use 3 of my inspiration to dash again and just continue to climb as fast as I can towards the neck. And I would like to use a nut. Can we, you said we can.
You can only burn 3 for one extra action per turn.
Okay, so I burn another one and get as far up against towards this splash of color, this glitter, this target that he sees as he's climbing up, sometimes inverted because this thing's moving. Am I on the softer flesh now?
At this point, you have managed to climb up over this wrapping, this dragon scale wrapping, and you are now climbing up. If you're going to go further, you can either try to climb up the side of its torso, which as you're touching it, it's not very soft. It's not made of mountain, but it's definitely not soft like human flesh. Or you could try to climb up one of its arms. And that's a choice that you have to make.
But they both reach the neck, and I just have to neck or flesh or arms is what but I can't do that until next turn or now.
You can start that now. You can make that decision now, or you can hold back and lose about 5 feet of movement.
No, he'll pick one of the arms, the one without the club, if he can, if that's a choice, and begin to no, the one with the club. What the hell am I thinking? And begin to try to scale even further.
Now I need you to make me an athletics check.
Okay, now I'm going to use an advantage.
Okay.
Oh, 19.
So you have managed to climb up 55 feet. You've quickly scaled as much of this creature as you can. You can feel the gravity of your armor, which is heavy, pulling you down. Several times your fingers begin to slip and you have to grasp with your other hand. You have to wrap your legs around parts of this creature's arm, even as it's starting to pull its arm up. And you feel like you are about to lose whatever food you've eaten recently, which I don't think is much. But you are able to hold on. You still have to get up to its shoulders where its head slopes forward, is hunched forward to where you might be able to get a look at that neck. You've still got about 25, 30 feet.
Okay. And as he's finishing his climb and jumps onto the arm and begins to swing, he looks up and sees the sloping head. He sees the ears of this thing, and the only thing he can think of is, because Kelvin's here, he's praying to God that his sergeant isn't already inside this thing, climbing through the ears. But then it's also a bit comforting to think that Chris might be about. And he continues his climb.
At the end of your turn, it uses this last legendary action to use its club-wielding hand and swat at its own arm. It strikes itself and takes a little bit of damage as stone smashes stone, but it's also trying to smash you as you stand there. It'll be for 32 to hit.
It'll be a 32 to hit?
That's correct.
Just barely hits, man. I should have taken Shield Master.
I just wanted to make sure. Roll me a strength saving throw.
Strength saving throw? I'm taking advantage on this too.
All right.
22.
You will take 13 bludgeon damage, but you will not be knocked off of it. You still manage to hold your grip, even as you feel the force of its hand smash you into its own body. That's the end of your turn. The start of its turn, it raises up that ivory column again off the ground. This time, seeing Kelvin there, stunned, it turns around and it notices the Minotaur starting to float through the air. It's going to use its ivory column attack to strike at Rook Own. As he's starting to float upwards, it's smashing downwards with the ivory column. And because you are stunned, you will fail your dexterity saving throw automatically.
Neat. This is great news.
So that'll be 31 bludgeon damage.
Even though he's flying?
Even though he's flying, he's still stunned, so he can't dodge.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, Dawn, when a creature within 5 feet of me makes an attack against one of my friends, I'm allowed to attack that son of a bitch as well. I'd like
Absolutely.
Yes!
I am taking absolution hilt deep into this son of a bitch. Hopefully. 23.
That's a hit.
Very scared. Okay, let me reroll. Wait, weapon 5, 7. I want to see what this does. 11 damage as he hits him with.
It cuts through part of the stone. You feel something a little softer underneath on its arm, but it's still protected. It did some damage, but it's still protected.
He's just watching Rakan to see what happens to him if he's, still flying. He's seeing that his friends are taking a hellacious beating right now.
Rakon, you are struck by this ivory column and it forces you down. You smash into the ground and then you start floating again and you come to your senses. Your stun is over and it's your turn.
So after taking in this stimuli, feeling of flying and like trying to grab onto anything on the ground and seeing Honoria get swatted out of the sky, his heart starts to beat a little faster, and then a column comes down and smashes him into the earth, and then something akin to Dragon Ball Z, he muscles his way up and looks up, and there's no clenching of the throat, there's no bleeding of the eyes. All you see are teeth gritted, and he looks up and he leaps and bolts and uses his dash action to move 120 feet into the air. How can I reach the giant skull?
The top of its head is 100 feet tall. Its shoulders are 80 feet tall. So you can fly with 120 feet up above it. You can fly to any part of it.
Nope. I'm doing a called shot in a Superman bolt. Since I dashed, I'm going to use my Goring Rush to hit its eyeball with my horns.
Roll that attack.
I'm going to use one for advantage. All right.
Okay.
Let's use one inspiration for advantage. 21.
That's a hit. And you, because of a boon, just a reminder, your Minotaur horns are now a finesse weapon. And with advantage on that attack, you will get a sneak attack. So as you explode up through the air, it's slow. It's not expecting you. And you fly directly into this creature's eye with your horn. Go ahead and roll me that damage.
This is rage and sneak attack. Actually, yeah. Well, no, I already committed. So, yeah, 13.
It pierces through its eye, and like Sir Reardon just learned, the outside of its eye is stony like rock, but there is something softer inside. You do find purchase, and you hear a deep but you do not believe it was as effective as it could have been.
So the structure of this eyeball, does it still seem organic and fleshy, or does it seem like stone set within stone within the skull?
It's stone. Its entire outside, you think at this point, I would say, is stone. There might be something else inside, but it's almost as though this thing were crafted, carved, and brought to life in the shape and form of a man, but from the side of a mountain itself.
Okay. So I'm going to use 3 inspiration for another main action.
All right.
And I'm going to bound upwards and fly upwards to the top of his head and then come back. And as I'm doing this, do I perceive this forest you were speaking of?
Roll me a perception check.
It's 19.
As you reach the top of its head is covered in long blades of green grass as tall as a man, several trees full of greenery and flowers. And as you come up to the top, you also see something, a glint from the back of its head, something that reflects light off of the sun.
Okay. I'm going to use the remainder of the dash action to fly towards the back of the head with the glint.
You see as you fly down to the back of its neck, on the back of its head, that's set out into the base of its slunched neck is a large skull-sized, man's skull-sized ruby. And it seems to be pulsating, moving, almost as though there was some sort of liquid within it, and it does reflect the light of the sun. You have a choice now to make with the rest of your dash action. Do you stay flying, or do you try to land?
I'm going to stay flying and hover within 5 feet of the ruby.
Absolutely. At the end of your turn, we move to Kelvin. Kelvin, you snap out of your daze. This giant has turned its back to you, and you are able to once again move.
Oh, it's cardio day. And get up with half my action, well, half my move. Take the rest of that half move. Bonus action, dash, and then action, dash. So that should get me 60 feet away.
So you're running in the opposite direction of the giant?
I'm running in the opposite direction because I'm probably going to get its attention next turn.
All right.
Right now, I need a little bit of a breather.
That's entirely fair. As you run away from the giant in the opposite direction of where it's turned, roll me a perception check.
All right. We'll try one of those. Nope. Really distracted with, almost dying.
Excellent. Is that the end of your turn?
Yes.
At the end of your turn, the mountain that walks raises the iron or the ivory column up over its head. It doesn't strike with it yet. It just prepares it. That's its legendary action. Honoria, it's your turn.
I am going to start flying back at it, coming from being swung how many feet away did it
80.
baseball bat me?
20 feet and down.
Okay, I am going to start flying up at it, knowing that my options are becoming limited, but I've got its attention. Menseli Kalayahan, and 3 more images appear of me and start flitting all around, and I am gonna fly right up in its face and try and get its attention.
All right.
I don't speak giant, though.
You don't speak giant?
I do not. I cannot hurl any insults, but I will come close to its face and be ever present.
As you and your mirror images fly up to its face, it kind of swipes up and tries to grab one of you and then grab another one of you, and you kind of are all moving around its hand as it's sort of confused for a moment. And it's going to use its last legendary action to do a SWAT attack. Which will be a 16.
That still hits with my mage armor, but I'm very thankful for my mirror image right now because I believe...
Go ahead and roll your mirror image.
I believe I'm good to go. It swats out one of my images in the air, but Honoria still can feel the impact from the last one, and it goes through that.
You feel the brush of wind in the back of your hair and hear the shattering sound of one of your mirror images destroyed by this swatting hand. That's the end of Honoria's turn, or is she doing anything else?
I really don't think this is gonna work, but we're running out of time. I'm gonna burn through my last 3 inspiration, and just like the flying bug, I have become Brun Hitilim, and I throw out an infestation of bugs towards this, and the cloud of mites, fleas, and other parasites appear with one creature I can see in range, and it must succeed on a successful Constitution saving throw.
13.
My spell save DC is 14, sir. So it's going to take 1d6, or sorry, it's going to take 2d6 poison damage, and it moves 5 feet in a random direction.
All right, so I'm going to roll 1d4, and since this is theater of the mind, we're going to say the direction it moves is where its attention is trying to move to next in terms of who it's going to try to smash. 1, Sir Reardon, 2, Honoria, 3, Kelvin, and 4, Raccoon. And I already got 7 damage, poison damage from that.
I cannot believe that fucking worked!
The bugs fly up and you watch these infestations fly into cracks in its face and inside its mouth, and you hear again, oh, and it's gnashing its stony teeth trying to get rid of these flying insects, and it's swatting its head back and forth, and you see it turn away from you, turn around, and in front of its face now, just above its face, is Raccoon, since Raccoon was flying behind it. But it doesn't look at Raccoon, it looks beyond Raccoon to the fleeing dwarf running away, Kelvin Stonewarden. And as it does, Honoria, you see too that skull-sized ruby pulsating, glowing, reflecting the sunlight on the back of its neck.
Because it's moving 5 feet away from me, do I get an attack of opportunity by any chance?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah. I'm gonna take out my quarterstaff, dropping my dagger to the ground, and I'm gonna swing at that ruby if I can hit it.
Take your shot.
Two-handed. All right, come on. Oh wait, that's not gonna hit. Nope. I have not swung a quarterstaff in a little while. Kind of pull my arm on that one.
You could use some more time at the batter's box, but it whiffs just wide. You feel it clip the ruby, and the ruby doesn't feel hard like the stone. It's almost squishy. Its material is something else entirely, but you don't deal any damage.
It may hold your weapon, I say, screaming to no one in particular.
All right. at the end of your turn, we go to Sir Reardon. Sir Reardon, you are 55 feet up, climbing this creature's arm. And as it raises its arm, you actually get up to its shoulder because it's raised the ivory column up over its head. So you are now 60 feet in the air.
But I'm a lot closer to the neck. That was my question, because as it raised up, I was gonna, you know,
you could thing. Yeah, you don't have to use a climb action as its arm becomes parallel to its hunched neck. You can actually try to run across its shoulder to get to the neck, but that will require an acrobatics or athletics check to avoid falling.
Yes, I'm going to go with a athletics at advantage.
All right. You're able to get across without falling.
Okay. That was a pucker factor of about 11 right there, everybody, just so you know. Okay.
11, I would have been happy with an 11.
Okay. So as he jumps across, he is going to... Can I use my movement action to get to the ruby now, or do I have to use a dash?
Was that a dash action, or was that your movement action to run across it?
Whatever it takes to get to the ruby.
Oh yeah, it's just a regular movement. You don't have to use a dash because you have enough movement speed to get to basically the back of its neck. So again, just imagine up at the top of where the spinal column would be on a human being is this ruby set out into its neck, and its head slumped forward, so you can actually stand there. It's not easy, but you can do it.
He spins Absolution around as he's finding purchase with his feet. Here's the question of the hour, my friend. I've got friends buzzing all around this thing. Can you flank a mountain?
No, you can't flank something more than one size larger than you.
I'm just asking. Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay, first attack is with advantage as he attacks the ruby. 14.
You lose your foot just as you bring your blade across, and it forces you to miss with your attack.
Okay, again with advantage. 26.
That'll be a hit.
Okay, I am down to four or 3. I'm down to 3.
I have you at 3.
Okay. You roll damage for this.
As you strike 12.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw a superiority die in there as well.
Awesome.
Just a goading attack to bring it more online to me, but I think it's already going to be online to me. That's for 5 more, so that one was a total of 17 damage to the ruby, or to him. I'm going to action surge and launch in without advantage. 22.
That's a hit.
Throwing another, I gotta re-roll great weapon. So that one's gonna be a total of 10. Another superiority for 8, so that's 18. 35 so far. I'm going to throw in my next attack, not advantage. 14.
That next attack misses again. You find it hard to keep your footing, and each time you strike it with your blade cuts through the ruby. The ruby reforms almost like it's a gelatin sort of material, but you hear a deep bellow from this creature, and it's gripping at its shoulder and at its neck, and it's moving around its head, and it makes it very difficult to attack, and that 4th attack misses.
Okay, so I'm going to spend my final 3 inspiration as I'm going to take another series of attacks and use those to go in again. 24. 13, again a superiority. So that's 19 onto it. final attack into the ruby. 14 miss.
The final attack will miss, but you strike it again and again. You hear a roar.
It's 54.
Is that the end of your turn?
Yeah, I think. I don't think I have anything left.
At the end of your turn, we move to the creature's turn, the golem's turn, and you hear it bellow again, Rog, Rog, Rogar, and it reaches for you with its hand and tries to smack you and smash you against the back of its neck. Because your goading attack was successful, it will attack you instead of chasing down Kelvin. And it's going to swing with a 20 to hit. Make me a strength saving throw. You manage to wrap yourself around its neck. Your face is planted up against this ruby. You can feel a strange heat against your cheek as it hits you for 13 bludgeon damage, but you do not fall off the back of the mountain.
While he's pressed up against, can I whisper into the ruby, Rog, Rogar, just to see if it does anything?
Yeah, it doesn't. You think he makes him mad. It's hard to tell anymore.
I could care less. Okay. Do I take damage from that or not? Do I take
13 bludgeon damage is what
13?
You take.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had plot armor come in from Prax, so I'm gonna take that.
Is that for everybody or?
Plot armor came in for Kelvin, Rookon, and Riordan.
Perfect. All right. That's the end of the mountain's turn. Rookon, it is your turn. You're now up above it, like at its forehead, because it's turned around, but you can fly around behind it again.
Yeah, I'm going to... how far away is the ruby from where I'm flying?
15 feet, 20 feet.
Yeah, so I can move to the ruby with ease, and I'm going to... Is the ruby connected to the giant with like a fleshy polyp, or is it embedded, or what's the situation?
It looks like it's embedded into the stone itself. That there's some sort of inset that was designed for this gem or power source or whatever it is.
Okay, so now with the situation, it being on the back of the giant, am I attacking the giant, or do I have flanking with Riordan right there?
Riordan's like right next to the ruby. You don't have flanking on this thing.
Okay. So then I'm going to use advantage and attack it with Hasgranath's scimitar.
All right.
And that is a 15. I'm using the scimitar's ability, not an inspiration.
Oh, not when your inspiration's perfect. A 15, you just miss it.
Okay. Then I'm going to use 3 inspiration for an extra main action.
All right.
Use a regular advantage on this attack roll with an inspiration. Can I do that? Or do you have to do the counter curse?
Are you attacking with the scimitar, or are you attacking with something else?
Scimitar.
You can use your inspiration. I will use your unlucky, your curse. And as you strike again with this scimitar, it's a sense of overwhelming guilt. You don't know where it comes from, but you know whose blade it is that you held. And you know what you did to this friend of yours. You can still attack,
8.
but it's going to be a miss.
Okay, then I will land and be around Riordan, within 5 feet of Riordan.
And you guys are now together, flanking either side, on either side of his shoulders there by the gem.
All right,
Kelvin.
yeah.
This is something.
Okay. Action, going to firebolt, and as I do, in giant. You poorly crafted arcane sack of bones, get over here!
Make me another persuasion check too, and that'll be a hit.
I will use my last advantage on the persuasion check.
All right.
So mighty.
Strong
15 fire
13.
damage. 13. So you do strike it, and you strike it in the forehead with another firebolt, and its head reels back, and it drops its hand that is reaching back over its shoulder, and instead, at the end of your turn, unless you have something else you're doing on your turn.
Oh yeah, I'm booking it.
You're running
action,
back.
Move action, getting another 50 feet away from this thing.
Roll
So
me
I should be
a...
110.
Yes. 110 feet away. Roll me another perception check.
All right. No, just no.
You're real focused on harassing this thing and then pumping your little legs and trying to get away as quickly as you can. At the end of your turn, it uses one of its legendary actions to move. And so it begins with Rookone and Sir Reardon on its back to towards Kelvin. You can feel the ground shake, and it moves 50 feet closer to you. So now it's what, 60 feet away?
60 feet away.
And I need an athletics or acrobatics check from Sir Reardon and Rookone.
Does flight play any factor into this?
Yeah, you won't fall if you this is just a hold on.
I get advantage because I'm raging. 2 crits.
I'm going to let each of you with a crit free action and take a regular melee attack. If you'll make it real cool and describe to me as this thing is running and you're gripping onto it and trying to hold on what you do.
So as all the shifting is happening and the thundering is happening on the ground, for a moment he's weightless and his arms spread up into the air, and he takes his scimitar and stabs it downward as he's landing back onto the giant's back.
All right. Take your attack.
That's a crit.
All right. And how much damage does your crit do? And
so what is that, max?
what?
Well, I'm gonna just spend 2 inspiration to do max damage.
Max damage. All right. So what's your max damage there?
10 with a no, sorry. 18.
And
Sneak
as
attack.
you drive, is this piercing blade or slashing?
Slashing.
18.
Yeah.
You cut into the ruby, and again, you feel the gelatin tear around the blow and then reform. But the creature stumbles forward, and it almost falls for a second. It kind of gets woozy and moves off to the side and then moves back. That's the end of Pope's turn. Honoria, it's your turn.
We get a shot though, right? You say we get a shot?
Did you roll a crit on yours too? No,
You
rolled.
didn't roll.
Your
Reardon
athletics
still has
check.
to attack. You gave him one, so.
Oh yeah,
Come on.
19.
perfect. That is a hit.
Let me see. That's got to have something. Yeah, I get the great weapon it. Okay, so that's a 6, 10.
10.
Yeah, 10 more. But this time he's going to drive in Absolution into the ruby and try to twist it. He's going to try to pry this thing out of its neck. And as he's sitting there riding, as this thing starts to run, it's almost like he's on some type of bucking bronco as he, as Rookone attacks and he jams this thing in and holds on. And all he can think of is the absurdity of a knight riding a giant and a dwarf riding a dragon.
Go ahead and roll me an athletics check. Let's see how this goes.
24.
You find purchase and you get your blade in there. It's stuck and you're trying to pull it out. You can't pop the ruby out of the back of its neck, but you also can't pull your blade out. So something has to give.
Very well. I shall ride for now. It's the end of my reaction.
It's Honoria's turn now.
I am seeing them quickly get away from me, and I'm going to bolt after them like a dark arrow and reach inside of my cantrips and trying very carefully not to hit my knight friend. I'm going to throw out my hand and cast Ray of Frost at the back of the gem, as it's probably the only thing I can do from this far away. It's 120 feet thanks to the spell sniper ability. Does a 16 hit?
Just hits.
I will do a total of 8 damage.
You blast it in the back of the neck, and again, it's moving back and forth. How far away is Honoria at this point?
I would probably be on the edge of that 120 feet, fighting against the wind, which is why you weren't able to hear me, buffeting my voice away, and trying to stay within range and using every bit of magical energy to extend myself as far as I can.
As you stretch your magic energy further than you've stretched it before, you strike right on target, that ruby, and it moves its arm around again. It takes a swat, this time at Sir Reardon. With its legendary action, it's going to be an 18.
Yes, it just hits.
13 bludgeon damage, and make me a strength saving throw.
Oh, my luck's about ready to roll off here. 18.
You are able to just hold on. Just barely. As it smacks you again against its back. You just take the 13 bludgeon damage. You are still up. You are still moving. That is the end of Honoria's turn.
That is the end of my turn.
It's Sir Reardon's turn.
Okay, wait. My God, I'm so nervous. Okay, Reardon still has Absolution jammed in the ruby. So you said he's got purchase in it, but he can't quite get what he needs to get to pop it.
That's correct.
Well, as he looks up into the sky, he reaches down into his belt and pulls out maybe a dagger formerly stolen by Kender, as he pulls Lorana's dagger out and jams it in the other side and begins to try to just draw them both out and burst the ruby into him as he's literally trying to extract it.
Roll me an attack roll with Lorana's dagger. This is the dagger that you found back in Palanthus at your feet when you awoke in an alleyway.
16.
16 just hits. The dagger shatters as it strikes the ruby. You feel your sword slip out of the ruby. Let's see.
Fall.
The ruby begins to slide out of the back of the neck of the stone golem, the giant. Not entirely. The golem itself falls down to its knees. It's grabbing at the back of its neck. Roll me a perception check, Sir Reardon.
18.
You see the hilt of Lorana's dagger fall from the force of the shatter. You see the metal of the blade fall to the ground as you look down to this weapon that you held, this woman who's very important to you. Where you see it on the ground, there's something weird, a trick of the light, a pool of shadow. starting to form where it lies.
With his last attack, he will attempt to draw the remainder of the ruby out using Absolution as he just counterlevers it and just tries to rip it free.
All right, give me a regular attack with Absolution.
16.
That is just a hit.
9, and I'm gonna pump in another superiority. 10 total.
Again, this giant falls forward more. At this point, you're standing up almost straight as though it were parallel with the ground. Its chest is only 10 feet above the ground. But part of this gem, part of whatever this gelatin material that's on the back of its neck is still in there, and it's still glowing. You can see almost like fingers of light, something reaching out of it, something warm. The creature is not down. Is that the end of your turn?
All he will do is try to draw as much and keep what he's already pulled forth free as he just screams to his friends, "I have it! Grab it!"
At the end of your turn, it uses its last legendary action for this turn, and it takes another swipe at you, Sir Reardon. This time with a 31. It'd be 13 bludgeon damage.
Oh, it would have been if it would have hit just outside on that one.
Oh, okay. Roll me another strength saving throw.
Get ready to catch me. There's no way these rolls keep up.
I'm trying.
19!
Oh, yeah.
You are smashed by this hand as it comes back around the back of its neck. You fly up into the air. Your feet actually move vertical so that they're pointing towards the sky, and then they come back down and find purchase in the back of this thing's neck again, and you're still holding on.
This is ridiculous and painful. How much was that?
That's 13 bludgeon damage. How's Sir Reardon looking?
I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
With it on the ground, it brings up its turn now. This ivory column overhead holds it over its head, and it slams it again into the ground. The only creatures in its range at this point are Sir Reardon, Rokon, and Kelvin. Because Sir Reardon and Rokon are on its back and not on the ground, they will have advantage on your Constitution saving throw. But I need a Constitution saving throw from all of you.
21.
Nope.
Wait, me too?
No, you're in the air. So it strikes the ground again, and you feel a quake, a burst of energy from the sheer kinetic force of this blow.
Making sure there isn't no sonic fucking sound barrier bullshit knocking me out of the air, okay?
It'll be 17 thunder damage to Kelvin, 17 thunder damage to Rokon, 35 thunder damage to Sir Reardon, and Sir Reardon, you are stunned and knocked prone.
Sir Reardon is also down.
Unconscious.
Yes.
Sir Reardon, you fall 20 feet through the air and hit the ground, taking...
Would I be able to, as he moves past me, doing like an attack of opportunity for an athletics check to grapple?
Absolutely.
Since
we'll say give me a melee attack unarmed versus his AC, we'll say, since this isn't really opposed.
25.
You grab Sir Reardon's arm as he's falling, and he swings side to side beneath you as you're hanging on to this giant. He does not fall or take failed death saving throws. which would have been 2 of them. But he is unconscious. You can feel his full weight beneath you as he's swinging through the air. That is the end of the creature's turn, except for that it stands up fully. And as it does, Rokon, I do need you to make me an athletics check to not fall off.
It's advantage because of raging. And
Excellent.
26.
You manage to stay there, and with a 26, I won't make you roll to keep Sir Reardon in your grasp either. He's with you. He's hanging through the air as you rise up 80 feet once again off of the ground. Rokon, it's your turn.
So visually here, I'm seeing something within the ruby, or is the ruby the gelatinous ruby being pried out?
As it was broken apart, it was like part of the gelatin fell away. What's left is something akin to a shattered ruby, but the insides of this gem are made of light, and that light is slowly spreading out, slowly escaping into the air.
Okay, so holding onto Riordan, I want to pull Riordan up and set him over my shoulder in a much more secure,
all right,
type of manner, and then. While the one scimitar is still wedged into the ruby, pull myself up with it, take a wide stance, pull it out, and stab it down. And then,
I'm gonna, if you want to take an attack and hold on to Sir Reardon, I am gonna need some kind of athletics check to keep hold of him. But I'll let you do that.
25.
You do it. He's over your shoulder, and you have just enough leverage to stab downward at the gem. Take your shot.
And this is going to be the advantage from the scimitar. That scimitar ability. 17.
17's a hit.
Okay, I'm going to use 2 inspiration for max damage for 6, 7, 18 damage. As I stab in and wrench to one side.
You dissolve what's left of the gem in its back. It breaks apart. It's falling away until there's only a small ball of light, unprotected by any sort of casing, standing there, floating there. Your blade doesn't seem to move through the light. And though the giant is slowed and though it seems exhausted, it is still moving forward. Roll me. I'll let you do Arcana or Investigation here.
Ooh, both are really high because I'm a barbarian. So let's do Arcana for no reason. 12.
You get the vague sense that whatever this thing is magical, and it requires some sort of magic to deal with it.
Okay, so then I'm going to use my movement speed with Riordan to fly 60 feet into the air.
All right. It will take an attack of opportunity as you move out of its range.
All right.
It'll be an 18.
Just hits.
Go ahead and roll me a strength saving throw. 13 bludgeon damage as it knocks you as you're flying through the air trying to get out of its range.
11.
You begin to fall through the air. You still have Sir Reardon on you. You're still grasping him. You're both falling.
How much damage do I take?
Well, that just depends on how you decide to handle this next second of your life.
Okay, so I'm falling. But I'm still under fly, correct?
Yeah, but you're not able to control your fly. You will hit the ground, and you are grasping Sir Reardon, unless you can do something or tell me how you fall.
So flipping end over end, I want to suck Riordan into the center of my gravity and form a ball around him as I go towards the ground.
Make me an athletics check, Rookon.
Okay. Crit.
You pull him into you, close into you, and you put yourself into a protective ball. You feel your body flying down towards the earth. You know that you will strike the ground. You will protect Sir Reardon, but that this could be your last moment. And cut for a moment to Sir Reardon himself, knocked unconscious. Your thoughts, your mind's eye lingers on that dagger, that shattered dagger that fell from your hand to the ground, that pool of shadow. And in your mind's eye, in a dream state, you see a blinding flash of light from the sun. And through that flash, you see the silhouette of golden-haired elven warrior, of Lorana, the Golden General herself. And she speaks down to you, reaching towards you with a hand. She says, "Arise, Sir Knight. Continue to fight. Never give up."
Because his general ordered it, he will stand.
And as you open your eyes, you see yourself falling through the air, Rookon wrapped around you, and you see a tree branch. With a 19 athletics check, you are able to reach out and grab onto that branch.
I hold on to Rookon for everything. I just grab hold of him and hopefully we can chain past with the momentum, even if the branch breaks. Just either the branch breaks, but Riordan will not.
Roll me one more athletics check.
$11.
The branch breaks and you fall, the two of you falling with slowed momentum as you grab on, at least for a moment, onto this branch. And instead of taking the full fall damage, you will only fall the 20 feet. For 7 falling damage, the two of you.
That's halved for me because of raging.
And Sir Reardon, because Rookon has wrapped himself around you protectively, you will take no damage. So he grips back onto you. He takes the force of the blow as you fall from the tree, smashes into the ground, and you're both still up.
By up, what do you mean for Riordan?
You have 1 hit point.
He will reach up, and though he doesn't really know where he is, he's stunned, coming out of death, seeing the Golden General, and he'll reach up, and as he sees this figure wrapped around him, protecting him, he'll reach up and touch the side of Rookon's face. "Thank you, old bull."
Rookon raises an eyebrow, and you stare into large, white, chiclet teeth. And all you hear is... There's no words. There's just heavy breathing and rage.
Sir Reardon, roll me a perception check.
$15.
We'll get back to that. Kelvin Stone Warden, it's your turn. You saw Reardon and Rookon knocked through the air, tumbling, breaking part of their fall with the help of a tree and each other. They both seem in the distance to maybe be standing. And now you're facing down the giant. It's stumbling slowly, but it's stumbling towards you.
In giant. Come on, you waste of stone, come at me! Fireball.
Roll me the attack. Perfect. That's a hit. Is that a higher level firebolt? I love that.
I don't know how that happened.
It rolled the crit damage for the advantage.
Oh, okay. Just take the 13.
13 is enough. As you bolt it in the face as it's stumbling towards you, it falls down again. It loses the column in its hand, and that smashes into the ground. Its face falls towards you. I need you to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, booking it. Booking it.
You are able to book it just out of the way as its face smashes into the ground, and it starts to rise again very slowly. You can see now on the back of its neck a ball of glowing light set into some sort of inlay surrounded by runes carved into the stone.
You're no giant. Huh. And while it's down, actually booking it towards this thing.
Okay. You're close enough that you could climb up on the back of its neck, on its head, get next to it.
Oh, I'm climbing up on its back, dagger in hand, just like giddy as a schoolboy.
Excellent. You are able to get exactly there on the back of its neck. Is that the end of your turn? Do you have anything else?
That's the end of my turn. I blasted and I booked it.
It's a good turn. Honoria, it's your turn.
I'm speeding along, weaving through the trees as fast as I can. Do I see this ball of light in front of my broken and battered friends?
It's set out into where the gem was on the back of the giant's neck. The giant is now face down in the dirt, in the ground. It's starting to get back up, but it's slower and slower the more you've worn it down. But there is this ball there where the gem was.
Reaching into myself and clutching my spellbook to my chest, I look at it and I concentrate through everything that my master has taught myself, feeling into the spirit of the magic, analyzing it as fast as I can, locking out all the sounds of blood trickling. I attempt to decipher what this is. What can I do?
Roll me an Arcana check. Do you have Dispel Magic?
No.
Do you have any magic that deals radiant or cold damage?
Cold damage, I've got Ray of Frost.
You sense that its vulnerability, now that the shell has been broken away, that the casing that was protecting what is actually its spirit, its weakness, that it could be erased or dispelled now that it's vulnerable with Dispel Magic, or that you could strike it with one of the magics it's vulnerable to, which is Radiant and Cold.
Strike it or the orb in the back of its neck?
The orb in the back of its neck.
All right. Korak Linkaran, and I start spinning a ball of cold into existence, touching the Dremel on the back of my neck as well, and aiming oh so carefully. Throw a chromatic orb of cold at it.
Excellent.
That is only an 8. Cold.
You strike just to the side. Kelvin is over top. He probably hears you. You say cold Dispel Magic. Are you speaking out to him?
I'm just speaking in general. I don't even think Honoria realizes that anyone else is around her. She's become obsessed now with this magic, and she also wants a piece of it.
Yeah, you think that you could capture a piece of it and save it as a material component if you move quickly before it's destroyed or as it's being destroyed. But your chromatic orb smashes off to the side, just missing it, freezing part of this creature's cheek. But the orb, the soul of this thing is still there. That's the end of Honoria's turn. Sir Reardon, on your turn, as you're still dazed and coming back into view, you see from where you stood before the stone giant moved away, where the dagger fell, that pool of shadow, a shape rise from it. The shadow falls away from the shape, like water falling off of the body. And you see standing before you, with a confused look on her face, Lorana the Golden General. She is as you remember her in the city of Palanthus, when you attended the party, when she touched your arm and asked you to help her husband to protect the city. She's wearing her armor, her helm. She's as you remember her at the Battle of Throttle, when she called you her general.
He will rise. And did Absolution come with him? Is Absolution anywhere around here?
Absolutely.
He is going to pick up Absolution and, with everything he's got left, rush to Lorana's side.
You make it to her side. She turns towards you as you're running, and she looks confused. Sir Reardon? Where are we?
General, defend yourself.
She sees you running towards her. She turns towards the giant. And then it's that you see the shadow that was falling off of her has recoalesced into another shape. And for a second, you see scorched, fire-blackened armor. 2 red orbs where eyes should be, illuminating the undead flesh of a long dead knight, wearing a great helm. His armor emblazoned with a blackened rose. And as she turns towards the giant, this knight, Lord Soth, enfolds her into his arms. She falls towards him, and then they are both swept into shadow.
There's nothing to do. I can't get there in time.
You can try. What do you want to do?
With everything he's got, action, movement, he's going to try to jump in between Soth and Lorana. He'll knock her, he'll body check her out of the way, whatever it is, to put himself between Soth and the general.
Give me an athletics check.
It's not going to make any difference, but I'm 11.
You can't get to him before he enfolds her in his arms, but you do reach through the shadow, even as their bodies are turning to something thinner than the physical realm, thinner than water, something like shadow. And as you reach through, that shadow breaks apart. You were there holding a clump of hair, blonde, flowing hair in your gauntlet. Your hands are very cold.
Riordan loses his mind. I'm coming for you! I'm coming, General! As his voice cracks, his body is shattered as he is holding it. I'm coming for you, Soth.
Rokon, you witness this. It's your turn.
So a whole bunch of stuff happened just now. And he doesn't understand it. He's not in a place where he can comprehend everything that happened. He doesn't know the people. He saw the night once before. So he's going to hover above the ground, pick up his shoulders, swoop through the trees, and pick up Riordan and fly in the air towards the giant at 120 feet.
Will Riordan allow himself to be picked up?
He can't fight back. It's just he'll be picked up. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to fight it.
I think that's a no.
Okay, so can I do grapple?
Yeah, opposed athletics check from the two of you.
All right, still raging, still advantage. 22.
Oh wait, no, he's going to let him have himself be picked up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Okay.
fighting against it at all. No. He doesn't.
So you feel you scoop your arms underneath his, and you lift him into the air and fly towards the giant. You can get to the giant from where you are.
And the giant is face first into the ground, getting back up.
Slowly, yes.
So with him in tow, I'm going to use, I'm going to use dash for my 120 feet, and I'm going to suck him in and brace everything that I have, and then do the goring rush attack towards in the trap of the giant.
All right, give me the attack.
All right, 22.
That's a hit.
All right. 12.
The force of your flying goring rush smashes into the back of this thing's neck. Even as it's rising, you force its head back to the ground. You're right next to Kelvin now. Kelvin, you witness this. The orb of light is still there. It moves around your attack, seemingly unaffected by it, but the creature itself you have stunned.
And then I'm going to just bring my shield up in front of Riordan and hovering right in front of the giant's face.
Kelvin, it's your turn.
Thinking this, not saying it aloud. You know what would make this story far more interesting? A grasp at power. Time for some experimental arcana. Grabbing hold of the light and then driving the dagger through the light and through his palm.
All right, and what is he trying to do here?
Yes, what are you trying to do?
What's your goal?
There is a great deal of power here. Let's see if I can grab hold of some of it.
Oh, you want to be like this, huh?
I was born this way.
Oh!
Give me an Arcana check, and if there's something spell that you're using, let me know. If not, just give me an Arcana check.
No spell. This is all ritual.
Kelvin Stone Warden cackles, and all who are watching would notice this dwarf as this light, he pulls it out. It holds in his hand, in his dagger for a moment, and then it begins to absorb into his hand, into his skin. Kelvin, roll me a perception check.
Nope.
You absorb the light into your hand. You can feel the warmth of it coursing through your body, it changing you. You don't know how. You don't know what this power is or how you might use it, but you do feel like you have managed to somehow take it and make it a part of yourself. I need you to make me an Arcana check. You notice this at first as you're looking down to your hand since you've just absorbed it. Your dwarvish hair on your hand is gray, grayer. There's wrinkles on your hand that you don't recognize. If you were to check your other hand, wrinkle is there. If you were to touch your face, it feels a little bit different. So Reardon, you would notice if you look to Kelvin, he looks much older than the last time you saw him. Impossibly older, since it's only been a couple of years. And Kelvin, as you're looking at your hand, you notice that where your ring should be, it's not. And then you remember falling through shadow, being gripped at, struggling with Sir Leon Barnabas, and you remember him pulling at your fingers, pulling at your hand as you fell.
Well, isn't this a twist in the story?
The giant stops moving. And you were all there staring, grasping for whatever with each other.
Who are you?
I'm somebody who made a very interesting mistake. So, I feel it's dead.
Did I see him age before my very eyes, him being within 5 feet in front of me?
No. He was already that age when you saw him. But roll me an Arcana check.
Oh, come on, one more time, baby. 14.
I'll give you this. He's aging now. He's changing now. He's aging much faster than he should be.
What are you? Saya Purubahan. I cast Honoria's Minor Eyes of Time, and I look into every future to see where I can get the best possible answer from him.
You're casting Honoria's Minor Eyes of Time on Kelvin.
As I ask that question.
Kelvin, are you doing anything about this?
If I feel any sort of time magic, I'm giving in and letting her see all of it.
This is how the spell works, and I'll let you determine what you tell her. She sees any number of possible futures, only 6 seconds into the future, where she might ask you different questions. There might be different actions, and what you are to tell her are what the most likely next 6 seconds look like.
Next 6 seconds. He reverts back to being young.
Nope, that's not one of them.
No, possibilities. This
Okay.
is multidimensional theory. So, for 6 seconds, 6 possibilities. 1, he reverts back to being young. 2, he crumbles to dust before your very eyes. 3, he casually starts walking over to Riordan and then vomits the contents of what would be possibly his body mass. 4, he just sort of readjusts and goes, "Oh, look, a student." 5, I know hunger. I know that look. Why? And 6, he just ignores you and walks straight over to Riordan.
Honoria's eyes would glow golden for but a few moments, and she looks at you, seething in anger. Time wizard. She walks over to her friends.
Kelvin,
Yes.
you feel yourself breaking apart. You feel your body dying. Now that you are aware of it, you realize it's happening very quickly. Without your ring, all of the time that you have prolonged your life, these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, these ages, it's catching up to you very quickly. Without your ring, there is no future for you.
With that, and seeing what she just did, these are the two things he will do before he falls. He will grab a hold of his spellbook, smack her over the head with it, and then try as desperately as he can to grab her hand and go, "You have 3 seconds before it all falls away. Take what you can."
I got more than 3 seconds. I got 6. Can I roll an insight to understand? I, as a player, knowing what I know, feel like he means the spell book and that he may possibly be dying. I don't think I could infer that as a character.
I think having just seen the 6 different possibilities and watching his flesh kind of begin to decay and age in front of your eyes, that you could infer without an insight check that he...
And whatever he can, if she starts to pull any sort of power out of him, he will push it.
Saya Prubhan, and I try to gain another 6 seconds as I understand that time is now fleeting. And what can I possibly do to rescue something out of this book, out of him?
You take the book and all versions of the future and you look through it. You try to learn as quickly as you can, even as it's crumbling into dust, even as he's crumbling into dust in front of you. And in every version of the future he does, his body falls apart, his bones turn brittle. And you read as much as you can. It's too much information at once. You've never tried to absorb this much arcane information in such a short span of time, these 3 seconds. When it's over and your spell ends, your brain is full of foreign words, ideas that you don't fully wrap your head around. I need you to make me 3 Arcana checks.
Praise Nuatari. Praise Takesis. For Raceland. Yes! Woo!
It will take you some time, maybe an hour, maybe a day, to fully comprehend what you gained from this dwarf's spell book before it disintegrates. But we'll deal with that between sessions and let us figure out what exactly is gained here. But you do gain something significant. And all of you watch as Kelvin begins to turn to dust. Kelvin, what do you do in that final moment of your life as she's reading through your book?
All tales end. Crumbles to dust.
Kelvin Stone Warden crumbles to dust in front of your eyes.
Did you do?
I fill one of my vials with the ashes of his body. With no shame and no hesitation.
Honoria, what did you do?
Bought us time. And she kind of slumps down, sitting ass into the ground, running a hand through her hair, and just trying to absorb everything.
I'm still raging.
So what's Rokon doing right now?
So he's let go of Riordan, and he's constantly, because he's still got flight, he's going 60 feet up and 60 feet down, trying to bore a hole through the flesh of the giant with his goring rush.
You are able to continue to strike the giant, but it's the second time you smash your head into the back of this unmoving, stony thing's head that you take a little bit of damage. We'll call it 1 bludgeon damage, and snaps you back. And you realize that whatever this was, it's not anymore. It's just stone, inanimate, a monument.
So he's going to let the rage subside, press himself up, and somehow as a separate entity be unaware that he has flight. And he's going to forge around. He had a vest made of dragon scales, was it? Or some sort of scaly appendage?
Yes, the scale, like it's like dragon leather and scales is the material that forms this giant's vest.
He tries to find like where it's stitched together and cut it up into small pieces.
Yep, you can take a trophy.
Oh, we can use this for later, for something. Bartering at the least. And then takes as much of a sizable piece as he can carry, folds it in on himself, and attaches it to the belt around his waist.
Does Riordan know where he is?
I don't know. It's quiet now. Just the wind.
Averin. Averin!
Is this the road to Throttle?
You're standing here now next to this giant. You do realize this is the very spot where your rear was attacked, the rear of the Whitestone army, where Sir Riordan made a name for himself defending the army. This is where Lorana the Golden General first looked at you, first smiled at you, first said your name aloud. You're standing in that same spot now that you were then.
Sabria!
He takes the hair and wraps it around his wrist, linking it with the belt that he wears. Slides absolution to the sheath on his back and turns towards Soth's home.
Sir Riordan turns his back on Stormshire Forest, where Sabria and Averin ran into, and turns north towards the distant grove, the larger forest that you spent days traveling through. It's a ways away. And on the far other side of that, Sir Riordan would know, stands Dargard Keep, the castle of Lord Soth.
Rukon notices Riordan looking in the distance. What is it that you seek? What are you looking for?
Yes, that I cannot abide.
What's the plan?
Of that tomorrow.
We're missing people.
He starts to walk.
He walks north.
We're missing people. Where are they?
Sabria was that way. Averin I haven't seen in some time.
We have to search for them. They couldn't have been far. We were just together.
You have some flight left. Go. Find Sabria. I must recover. I will look for Averin. I probably have like 4 minutes left on flight time.
How long does flight last?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So then, yeah, I'll hover around and try to find Sabria somewhere.
I'm going to fly up and take a look and see if I can see Averin anywhere.
You will both remember that Averin and Sabria ran together towards the Stormshire forest to the south. You can't see through the canopies of the tree. It's not a large forest, but it is a densely packed forest. You would have to go down into the forest if you wanted to search for them.
Oh, it's too dangerous now.
We can't split up. We should stay together. Lord knows when this mist will arrive and take us all away again.
Sir Knight, halt. Reardon.
He does not. He does not.
You cannot defeat Soth without me. Alone.
You would just hear drift back. We shall see.
Have I not been your eyes thus far? She says, walking towards him, knowing that he's going into pure suicide.
He will stop for a moment and turn around. I will not leave him. I am no coward like that half-elven whelp.
But will you leave us?
We'll have each other.
How's he looking?
Beat to shit.
Honoria pulls out her quarterstaff and says, Est soloras oth mythas. Your honor is your life. Fight me, and I will let you go.
You are not
But you are. And you cannot deny me this challenge.
No, there will be no fighting.
There will not be any fighting. Do you understand, Noria? He has her. He had her before.
And now we are 3, where we once were 5. What is more important to you, knight?
He is a knight. He will go forever for her.
Forever and a day.
Both of you will die. And there will be no tomorrow.
What would you have me do, Honoria? Forget.
No.
Go off on some fool's errand to your lake of sound?
No.
He has the general!
He also has the only way to get out of this world. And I seek that too. We both have the same destination. You were just walking one foolhardy path straight forward. Walk with me, and the light will shine forever.
Speak in riddles, wizard.
I walk a straight path.
I do not speak in riddles. Did you not care for the two that were amongst us before? They are gone. They are lost. They would have helped us. Something is amiss. We need to find them. Is that not important to you? Do you abandon this responsibility? You do not claim it, but it is yours. As well.
Speak not to me of responsibility.
I'll speak to you as I wish. I am not bound by code.
And we are at an impasse.
What is it you will do? Help us.
Go for the
be the lone wolf. The lone wolf that dies alone.
I'm not a lone wolf, Rukon. I am a knight. And my general was taken.
And you intend to save
This is what I am.
Who will help you?
Those that have gone before me. Kelvin, my father, they always walk beside me now. Into the keep we all will go.
Shirak. I tap my staff, causing to illuminate with light. The light is here, within all of us, together as one.
Let their memories guide you. Their hands cannot. You will be alone, and you will fall alone.
That is the way of a knight.
So it is to walk away from the fight of a girl. Honoria is deep down, shaking underneath her robes. But she stands firm beside Rukon. The ashes of the dwarf beside her, her staff shining, and she stares at him, a steely gaze that looks down to Absolution and back to him.
Pride aside, Bjordan. We need you. I know I cannot do this alone. Anyone who tells himself that
I love
thing.
her.
Do you think I do not love? That I have not loved? This is where we are now. We cannot live in the past. We are what we have.
I love.
And so you chase ghosts. We might be able to do something about it. In the state that you're in, 20 wolves can take you down. But not the lot of us. 5 as one are stronger than 1 as one.
Think of your golden general. And I don't know if I'd know this as a character. I gotta go to the DM. Would I know the tale of the dragon orb?
Well, that's an interesting question. I will allow you to make me a history check.
That's an 18.
You could say that with your curiosity and your studies that it's a tale you're aware of. It's recent. It's big news in the wizard world.
Think of Lorana. Did she go alone? for the dragon orb? Or did she rally those around her? If you love her, would you not seek to be more like her? In every way. Or do you go alone?
I know her.
As soft
anyone.
might.
I know her more than...
And that's gotta be the lowest blow I can strike, actually.
I know her more than anybody. I have walked beside her. Fought beside her. She's always been alone. That pretender, the half-elven, the knight. He let Brightblade fall when he could have killed. That blue bitch. But instead he took to her bed. While the general fought and bled with us. She thought she had him. But she was alone. Always alone. On my honor. She will never be alone again.
Rukon drops his sword. He drops his shield. His eyebrows soften. And he walks closer to Riordan. And he goes within 5 feet and reads. His eyes, his posture, the saliva foaming in his mouth. I understand. You may not believe it, but I do. Listen to me. You have a hate that's festering inside you. And if you walk that way alone, it will eat you alive. And the man you knew, you will not be that man. I want to help you. And I'm trying. Help me. And he takes his hand and places it on his shoulder, softens his eyes and looks directly into his eyes. I know I can help you.
On your honor.
On my honor.
He looks at Maria. You have 3 days, wizard. Not a moment ago.
I'll only need one. Dulak. She puts out her staff and immediately begins reading her book. Going into arcane recovery.
If our friends were okay, they would have been back by now. Something is amiss.
Rest. Nori just paces back and forth, reading her book, trying to burn the arcane back into her mind as quickly as possible, knowing that the knight said that she has 3 days. That I know he won't wait that long. He'll leave us just as surely in the middle of the night.
Riordan. The girl. I know you care about her. She's out there. She would have come back. The mountain fell. Why would they not come back?
And let us find them.
Rukon goes back to his spot, picks up his scimitar and his shield, and goes to where he last thought they were, in the woods.
Sir Reardon and Honoria, as Rukon grabs his weapon and his shield and moves off towards the Stormshire forest to the south, what do each of you do?
Walking off into the forest, reading as I walk, glancing up every now and then to look for some sign of them.
You're able to keep within range while you go about your studies, recovering your arcane energy. Sir Reardon?
Reardon would stop by the fallen form of Kelvin. It is just ash now, I'm assuming. And he would say,
It was good to see you. If only for a moment, old friend.
then he'll get up and follow.
The three of you move into Stormshire Forest, and as you pass beneath the boughs of the tree, the sun disappears, and you learn why the forest has the name that it has. Rain, even though there wasn't a cloud in the sky a moment before, begins to beat down through the thick canopy. You hear sounds chittering, a distant trail of laughter. You see there, laying on the ground, once you're in, moving south just 100 feet or so, a streak of blood against the trunk of a tree, and hanging there from a low branch, a necklace, velvet and metal necklace, one that you would have known belonged to Avrin.
This is her necklace. Something happened. Averin? Averin! Do I hear anything back?
Roll me a perception check.
May I also please make that perception check?
Absolutely.
8.
You hear another Rukon distant echo of laughter. Sounds like the laughter of a child. Somebody, maybe a woman, hard to say. It disappears with the sound of the rain beating against the leaves. And then as you're looking into the distance, you see there a trail of blood, like something was dragged through the forest a little deeper in.
Blood. There. To me. And I dash.
I run along with him, putting my spellbook in my holder.
You move through the woods. You follow the trail, pushing aside branches and trees and thick shrubbery until the trail ends. It ends in a pool, staining the brown earth. And as you look down at this earth here, you again hear that distant laughter. Just for a moment, you're staring down at soft earth, disturbed earth.
Something's buried here. And he takes his shield and starts to use it as a shovel, digs in and pulls soft dirt out, digs in.
What are you doing?
I will get down on my hands and start shoveling off to one side.
What's Sir Reardon do?
He's going to look at the surrounding area to see if they're being watched or anything of that nature, if there's observation.
Roll me a perception check, Sir Reardon.
A strong 11.
Just the sound of rain and the occasional burst of laughter. You will note that each time you hear the laughter, it's distant, but it's from a different direction. And it doesn't always sound like it's the same voice. Rokon and Honoria, you begin digging and digging. You don't have to go far before Rokon, your hand touches the soft flesh of someone else's hand beneath the ground.
He sets the shield down and then starts digging with his hands around the flesh and starts tugging. And
I'll start pulling as well. Gently.
You dig and unearth and heave up and pull, and slowly you pull the body, still warm, of Averin out of the ground. Her eyes are shut. Her limbs are limp, loose. She's heavy in your arms.
If I put my head to her chest, can I hear anything or feel any breath on my face?
You don't. No heartbeat. Well, roll me a medicine check.
It's 12.
Dunk, dunk. Small, quiet when your ears to her chest, but when your mouth's to her, or your ears to her mouth, you don't feel breath on your cheek, but you hear a faint heartbeat.
She's alive. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Where's the priestess?
We're still looking for her. I'm guessing my character doesn't know what CPR is.
Rukon would still continue at digging at all the dirt to fully take her body out of the ground and lifts her up, like cradling a baby.
Her legs are free.
She needs to breathe. Honoria says, not knowing what else to do. No healing potions. She looks up and she prays.
Who does Honoria pray to?
Raceland. In her heart, Raceland.
And what does she say in her heart to Raceland?
I am your apprentice. I have made it this far. You told me to use those that are around me. I cannot use them when they are dead. Save her.
Are there any other sort of tracks around that would lead us to Sabria? Any sort
Not
of
right here. Yeah. Not right here, but having unearthed her, I would tell you, Rokon, that as you pull her out the entire way to cradle her, you see beneath her, it's like there's a burrow. It's like there's a small tunnel beneath the earth, beneath where her body was. Not small enough for you to fit down or even for her to fit down, but larger than that of a normal small animal.
There's one tunnel, there's many tunnels, there's a network.
I look at him when he says tunnels. Can I see what he's speaking of? Kind of draws.
You can. You can see the tunnel.
I put Shirak on the end of my staff and I wave it towards the edge of the tunnel to get a better look inside.
as you shove the lit staff down into the tunnel to get a better look, you see for the moment just a faint silhouette of a face that looks half like the face of a child and half like the face of some terrible insect with mandibles clicking. It withdraws deeper into the tunnel at the light of your staff immediately with a scurry, and this tunnel collapses in on itself. And then Oberyn takes a gasp. And we cut away from this scene. Back out in the grassland, west of the fallen giant, Kelvin Stonewarden, your spirit materializes, incorporeal, standing along a road, and you see to your east the giant, and you see to the west. Couldn't see it before because of the hills, but now you can. A tall, black, crumbling tower with two smaller minarets flanking it on either side. And from its window at the top of the central tower is a flashing beacon.
He looks down through his transparent hands, back up to the beacon. I guess I will see 6 ages anyway. And then starts walking, slowly, towards that light. Looking around, trying to center what this new form has for him. A light glance off to the forest, just chuckles, and heads on. A new tale starts.
And this is where tonight's story ends. Yay. Oh man, that was a lot. That was an episode. Thank you guys very much. Pope, thanks for being here as always and for making this story something special, making it something it couldn't have been without you. I loved it. As always, I want to go around and talk to everybody. Tell me where we can find you online, how you're feeling, what you're looking forward to, anything you want, really. It's your time. We'll start with Tia. We won't start with Tia.
I need a minute. I need a minute. I really do. I'm just, I don't even know what I'd say, so yeah.
I'll say then, I'll start. Guys, this was a tough one for me, and it got easier as it went on. I was real scared to do tonight. I didn't always feel well, but at the end of the day, I got to sit down with a bunch of my friends and tell a story and have some fun. You guys killed a giant. I mean, a really big fucking giant. And I thought that battle was great. One of my favorites that we've done here so far. One of my favorites I've ever run. And I loved all of the individual moments for your characters. I'm always so happy to be here on Wednesdays. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. Nobody I'd rather be spending my time with. And everyone in chat who supported us tonight, thank you. There's a ton of stuff coming in that I'll be wrapping into future episodes. As always, I love doing that part of it, the boons and the magic items and everything. I'm very grateful for all of you, and I'm very grateful to be here. And I'm looking forward to getting the full team back together. It's been a hot minute, and I'm excited to find out, because I don't know what that's going to look like. But thank you all for being here. You can find me at Donathan Fry online. I'll say this and then move on. We will have an episode next Wednesday. It's my birthday. So we'll see I might be a little less sober than normal. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be a fun one either way. But before next Wednesday, next Monday, Greg's running Marvel Superheroes RPG. This is Monday at 5 p.m. here on this channel. I'm going to be a part of it. It's the first RPG I ever played when I was a kid. Before D&D, it was made by TSR. It's old school. If you haven't played it, it's still probably the greatest superhero RPG, in my opinion, of all time. It's really, really good. We're playing Daredevil and Spider-Man. I mean, awesome characters. There will be cosplay, and everything we raise on Monday night is for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. It's the best multiple sclerosis society charity that exists. They do incredible work, and talked about a brave friend that I knew at the beginning of the episode. Good friend of ours, Bill's and mine, passed just a couple of nights ago, and he from multiple sclerosis, and he was the fucking man. He was awesome, and that's what we're going to do on Monday, is raise some money for that. So that's me. Move it on. Gonna go ahead and pass it on now to Tia.
Okay, now that my brain has had a second to cobweb, that's not my link anymore, bruh. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Go ahead and click on that link, guys. See where it goes. After Dawn's message at the beginning of this episode, I felt something, and I don't know how to describe it, and I feel like any attempt to describe it will just be pale light on what is something that is brilliant. I have never felt so emotional going into an episode. I have never wanted to destroy something so badly, because I just wanted to take everything that I was feeling, and I messaged Greg in between. I was like, we have to kick this thing's ass. We have to fucking destroy this thing. We're not going to run. We're going to stay and fight. We're going to be inspired by the man that was a dragon. And we were, and we are, and we forever will be. We grieve with you, brother. Daniel! I thought you were gonna steal that light from me, and I was gonna be so mad until the end of my days. And that crit for Raceland was pretty cool. And I love you guys. It was... I know we say this every week, but it was beyond something else this week. There was definitely another player at the table. I love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you. Thank you all. Let's talk to Daniel.
Hey folks, Hope World Build here over at Twitter, World Build on Twitch. That was a potent story, and story is how we remember. It is how we cope. It is how we communicate. It is the cornerstone of what makes this seemingly simple game mean so much. And it's why it lives in the lives of millions. It's why theater exists. It's why movies exist. Because without story, we are nothing. And we had a masterful one tonight. Everyone was on top of their game, and the story that was told was meaningful and will stay with us. As for myself, there was brilliant moments throughout, and ambition has always been a part of this character. It is how he lives, it is how he dies, and that is the best thing ever. And I love you all. Legion, Tia, Billy, Greg, Don, you are all masterful, bright, wonderful people, and I am privileged to be here with you.
Love you too, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, Billy, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing, brother. Yeah, it's a rough one for me, you know. Personally, with Andy, he had MS, but a lot of people with MS live really long lives. And we had a lot of plans. Now we don't. He would have watched this one if he could have. He watched several in the past. Loved Greg. I guess he just has an affinity for assholes. But who Riordan is here is who Andy was in real life. Strong code of honor. Compassion. Kindness. And there was some talk about not doing the episode tonight for emotional health reasons. I talked to Don earlier. Andy would have wanted us to do it. He would not have wanted us to stop what we do for him. So instead we do it for him. And there was a moment tonight when Rukon was talking to Riordan, and he was trying to out-logic. And then there was my brain felt a shock. And I took a step back. And Rukon took the wheel and used compassion. That wasn't me, that was Andy. And the best I can do for Andy is try to be more like him, be better. It's going to be a rough week, but it got a little better tonight for me. So thank all of you. You can follow me on Twitter at Bill of the Forest if you like. If not, that's fine. But go home, and if you're not already home, take advantage of the time that you have with the people that you care about. That person that you've wanted to spend time with, that you've never made the time for, make the time. Because you might not be able to. Say the things that you want to say, do the things that you want to do, learn the things that you want to learn. Because you're not guaranteed anything. So make it happen. That's it.
Thanks, Billy. Thank you for being here. You're the best, man.
Yeah, love you, brother.
Greg.
This was definitely a very tough one to start off, and it's strange because you don't know, never met Andy, but when you have friends that express such passion about somebody, you can't help but feel an absence of having missed out on something spectacular. And that's unfortunate, but it is very fortunate to know of him and learn of him through these two wonderful guys. And when you hear that somebody likes one of your characters, that's awesome. When you hear that somebody, it struck me about Andy and liking Riordan, and so yeah. But Grimjack21502 on Twitter, Tales from the Grim here on Twitch. Give us a follow, be here. We have a lot of things coming up. We got Marvel on Monday, and the premiere of Lady Blackbird, Wild Blue Yonder, that following evening. Project Athena, Sunday night, and we have Dungeon of the Mad Mage tomorrow night. What these guys said. Play a game with all those that you love, but make sure when the game's over, you give them a squeeze and just let them know. Anybody else?
Yeah. I need you all to make me charisma saving throws.
You son of a bitch!
Including me there?
No, I mean, if you want, I leave it up to you. Pope, I do want you to make me a charisma saving throw for Kelvin.
Can I like give mine to somebody else? If I
No.
Aw.
All right. Let's see. Oh, let me grab these polls real quick. I completely forgot. Scroll up. If anyone has polls, the links to the polls, they'll throw them up somewhere. I can't find them.
You want to drop them in?
Zoom chat's good, or anywhere's good.
Yeah, Ken, if you're out there, we saved Overend, so that means you have to give us the poll results, but it also means
Thanks,
you can lie about them and make sure that I get the good stuff.
Perfect. Here we go. All right. So the light still shines. Which character will be protected against corruption of the shadow this episode? It is Rookone. Rookone narrowly overcame Sir Reardon. And so Rookone, even though you failed your charisma saving throw, because of chat coming to your aid, Rookone does not slide to the dark side, not this week. The Eye of Nutari, which character will be corrupted by shadow? That is Kelvin. Welcome to Nightland, where things are worse than they were in the age of despair. Please roll me 1d8. You only gain 1 corruption this time.
Why is nobody gonna become as fucked up as I am?
What is this third poll? What is this? I think that might be the wrong link. Regardless, that is where we will end tonight's episode. No gains of corruption for anyone, because Honoria couldn't possibly be more corrupted. She is the most corrupt already. But thank you everyone for being here. Love y'all. I will see you very soon.